Hello again, welcome back to another video, and today I want to talk to you about propagating the Syngonium Podophyllum Albo Variegata, and that is a mouthful. The good news about these guys is they're super simple to propagate. So if you have one of these plants and you want to take cuttings and you want to give them away to your friends or you want to sell them, whatever you want to do, I'm going to show you step by step the best way to do it and the most efficient way to get the most cuttings you can. So stick around to the end because there's a few tips that you absolutely have to get right to ensure the best results for your cuttings. So here we have some Syngonium Podophyllum Albo Variegata. It's actually a really pretty plant. I'm not someone who goes in for all of these exclusive, rare, variegated houseplants. Personally, the hype just puts me off a little bit, and certainly the price puts me off a little bit. These guys have been coming down in price. They're a little bit more obtainable. They're not in the hundreds or thousands or anything else like that. They are in the high double digits, to be honest with you, if you can find them. Still a bit harder to get hold of, although online much easier than they used to be. You still don't see these in garden centres very often, if at all, in the UK, but I must admit this particular plant is very pretty, and I really enjoy watching the different leaves coming out and the different shapes that the variegation makes. So I must admit I'm a bit of a convert to this particular plant. So what happens as it grows, it puts out these long stems, and you can either grow this plant if you want on a bookshelf hanging down like this, looks very nice, or if you want you can actually put a stake in it and you can actually have these growing upwards if you want. It's up to you. Or if you want to make new plants, you can take each one of these and make a new plant, which is what I'm going to show you how to do now. So there's a few things you have to know. The new plants can only come, or roots specifically, can only come from a leaf node. That's this bit here, where the plant stem and the petiole meets the node here. That forms a leaf node, and as you can see on these ones, hopefully you can see, there's even aerial roots growing out of them already. If you can see here, the same, there's already an aerial root there, and there's an aerial root there. I don't know if you can see on that side. So each leaf hitting the stem, that's called a leaf node. That's where the roots are going to grow out of each place. So when you make a cutting, you need to have a node for each cutting, or you're not going to get roots. You may be able to keep a leaf alive and keep growing that leaf, but without the node, you're not going to get roots. You can't create a plant out of it. So you need that. Same as this bit here. There's a node, there's a node, and there's a node down here, and there's one here. So if you can get an aerial root already, that increases your chances massively. But these are so easy. As long as you've got a node and a leaf, you're going to be fine. We're going to cut these, put them in water, and grow some roots in the water. They're very successful. I very rarely have any that don't grow roots, and very rarely have any that don't actually produce new plants as a result. Just a few things to remember, which I'll go through as we go along with this process. So let's get in a bit closer and I'll show you what we need to do. First of all, you're going to need something to cut it with, some scissors or some secateurs, a little bit of a blunt object. Some bonsai shears are quite nice, but something that you're going to be able to cut the stem with. Sharp is better, you'll get a clean cut. Now the next thing you have to make sure is that you disinfect your scissors, because if you've been cutting other plants with these and there is some pests or diseases in that plant, then you could risk transferring that disease into your new cuttings if you don't sanitize your equipment. You can just wash them with soap and water carefully that you don't cut yourself, or you can use something like hand sanitizer because that has 70% alcohol. Just put a bit on your hand and, like I said, carefully, dealing with sharp objects here, just carefully rub the cutting surface and make sure it's all soaked in that alcohol carefully, or you can do this with a cloth, it's probably safer, and then that will evaporate and you'll have some clean utensils to make the cut. So let's get you zoomed in a little bit and we'll see what we can do. So the easiest thing to do is just to cut it off towards the base, and then you've got more room to actually see what's going on. So that's what we're going to do. We're going to cut it back here, and the same for this one, we're going to cut it back there, and then we can lay them out on the table and have a good look at them. That's the first one. That's the second one. So we'll move this out of the way so we can have a better look. So it's worth bearing in mind that these plants are poisonous. So when you're finished with making the cuttings, just wash your hands carefully and make sure you don't have any pets that are going to pick this up, any cats that are going to pick it up and start chewing it, because they may get quite sick if they do so. And these are fairly mild things, but just be careful. You don't want to get any reactions on your hands or anything else like that. So just be mindful of it. If you have any cuts on your hands or anything like that, maybe it's better to wear gloves for this. So as we can clearly see on the background here, we can see the stem, the petiole and the leaf nodes. That's what we need to cut. So if we start at this end, we can create one cutting here. That. You can trim that up a bit. Create another one there. We don't need these long internodal sections. They're not going to create any roots there at all, so we can remove that. That's another one. And finally, the last little bit here. There we are. And we're going to do the same again with these ones. If we turn this round the other way, we can see there is a leaf here. It's coming to a node already at the front here. So we can actually, although it's growing upwards, we can actually get in there and chop that. That is its own node, and we've got two aerial roots. It's going to be a very healthy cutting, that one. So then we have the next one here. They're quite close together towards the base, so we've got another one here and another one here, so we can cut that in between. We've got two more cuttings. There we are. There's a node, and you can see the aerial roots. A great cutting, that. Same with this, although the leaf is actually grown up to here, you could be confused to think that these two are together, but it isn't. It actually comes all the way down to here, and that is another one. So I just turn it around and get my scissors in between that a little bit. There you can see that is another cutting. This one at the end, this apical shoot at the end, is just starting to push out, create a node and push out an aerial root, but it's very small. Don't know if it's going to make it on its own, so what I might do is leave it on there, put that in the water, which will feed the stem, and as this one grows, I think this will then develop a fully fledged node, leaf and aerial root. So for now I'm just going to leave that on there, and hopefully in a week or so I can cut that off and get another cutting out of it. But it doesn't really matter because we've got plenty of cuttings now. So how many have we got? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. 10 new cuttings, and they're all looking fantastic. Other thing to pay attention to is don't leave them out like this for too long. They're going to be losing water very quickly. You need to get them into water as soon as you possibly can. Certainly don't leave them in direct sun. They need moisture as soon as possible now they've been disconnected from the plant itself. So this has to happen very quickly. So prepare everything ahead of time so you're not leaving them sat around cut, because you're decreasing your chances of success by doing that. So then what we need is some water for them. And then all we need to do is pop them in water. So anything will do, a jam jar, a glass, whatever you've got lying around, and just put them in the water. Super simple. I mean, you can do this with a few glasses if you want. You don't have to pile them all into one, but I've got one here, so I'm going to put them all in one. So there we are, it's as simple as that. The only things to remember is change the water in the jar once a week, something like that. Give it some fresh water so it's not going stagnant. Check them after a couple of weeks. You should start seeing some root growth. Don't mess around with them too much, and just wait for some new, healthy, strong roots to start growing in each plant. The longer you leave it, the more roots there's going to be, the stronger the plant is going to be when you actually plant them up. Then all you need to do is take them out individually, put them into plant pots with some soil, and grow them on as new plants. Just be aware, when you take them out of here, they're growing in 100% water at this environment, then you're going to be putting them in a soil-based environment. So you will need to give them extra water to begin with, so they get used to transitioning over from that environment to the new environment. So the opposite to most houseplants, I would say, you know, let it dry out a little in between waterings. These ones, plenty of water. Keep that soil saturated for the first couple of weeks, because it will be expecting a lot more water than it will be getting. So don't let it dry out at all. Plenty of water, and then as the new growth comes in, the new roots fill up that pot, then you can start dialing back that water and it will get used to its new environment. But straight away in the first new weeks of potting up, it will need that extra water to help it grow away strongly. I tell you what I'm going to do just for fun. If you are in the UK and you want one of these cuttings, write down below in the comments, let me have one of your cuttings, Andy, and I will, once these have grown on and I've potted them on into soil and they're proper viable new plants, I'll give a few away to some of you guys in the comments. I'm sorry I can't do it for Europe and the US. That's way too complicated, but I'll try and do something for you guys in North America in the future. But right now, just for fun, if you're in the UK, let me know down in the comments, and when these guys are ready, I will select at random a few people and I'll send them over to you. So I hope you found this video useful. Please give it a thumbs up if you haven't. Subscribe if you're new around here. There's plenty more houseplant related videos coming along very soon.